All right, everybody, welcome back. Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. This is gonna be a fun conversation. I'm actually going to sit back and learn today. Greg is going to kind of take the lead here on this episode. So the last episode, we talked about we were trying to light a little bit of a fire under you, right? To realize that you may or may not be in a situation where, whether it's your job, you could come up with some unforeseen circumstances, right? That may be way out of your control, whether it be from an income standpoint or a job or something like that. And it's like, what are you going to do? I shared a story about my father, about how, when he was in his mid 50s, early to mid 50s, how he lost his job and he was completely devastated because he didn't have a backup plan. He didn't know exactly what he wanted to do. I lost my store when I was in my mid 30s, and I didn't have a backup plan back in the day. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so what I thought I would do is that Greg he's a published author, meaning he's published his own books. It's not a lot of times you'll hear, and I was actually part of a book. You'll always see it in my background here if you're watching this on video. The Think Big book was a co-author, right? So I wrote I wrote a chapter within, I think it was 30 different authors, I think, or different people within that book, right? So I co-authored a book, but Greg has written and published his own book, and he's actually has another book that's getting ready to be published now, I believe. I'll let him get into a little bit more of the details about that. But if we have a little bit lit a fire underneath you and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I need to start getting myself out there, but I don't know where to begin. That's where this conversation is going to lead to today. It might be writing a book. It might be, you might have a story within you, whether it's teaching people how to do a specific thing, or if it could be just a story, a made up story, right? Fiction, nonfiction, it doesn't matter. The point is, well, how do you even get that process started? Well, Greg's the man. Greg's the one that's going to be able to teach us about that today. So, Greg, come on, man. Teach us, how do we write a book? What's the process of going through and getting from idea to hard physical copy in your hand?
You want me to jump right in?
Yeah. Well, even add to a little bit more of that. Yeah. Tell me more. What made you, well, let me just ask you, what made you think that that's something that you wanted to do? So we've talked about pivots within our own lives, right? We've pivoted. You've talked about being a realtor. You would consider yourself a real estate investor. You're invested in many different properties and different things that are going on. Just being an entrepreneur in general, right? You've got your hands in a lot of different things. Where and why did you think, I think I want to write a book and I think I'm going to publish it on my own and I'm going to go figure that out? Where did that thought even come from? That would be maybe the first place to start.
It's funny because I actually wrote a book, and I didn't publish it. I just started writing. It was about real estate investment, but it was just so basic. And I just wrote it in, I think, like Google Docs or whatever. And I read through it and I was like, this is not good. This is like, I don't even want to put my name on this thing. I don't know if it's even still in my Google Docs. It might be. So then I just wanted to put something on paper just to get some ideas out and just to see, where are my writing skills at? Are they good? Are they decent? And this was probably back in like 18 or 19, maybe, is my guess. And it was not good. So I kind of put it on the shelf for a little bit. Life kind of took over. And then probably like a year or two ago, I saw a book publishing course where they'll teach you basically all the things that I'm going to, talk about today, but even more so, right? They go into depth. There's a coach that kind of helps you and guides you. So I thought, all right, cool. Like, let me try this out because it's something I always wanted to do, put my name on a book that was like solely mine, like you're talking about. So that's what I did. And I just did it. You know what I mean? I was, yeah, I just did it. And I got the result and, it's on Amazon and everything. It's doing pretty well as far as reviews go. But anyway, that's kind of where my book writing, it was just a curiosity of, let me try to write my own book. The first one was horrible. So I got some help and coaching, and
It's a
this one
practice, right?
is, yeah, exactly. This one is a lot better. And, now it's up there on Amazon. So it's kind of cool.
And you've got another one that's about ready to be published again. And hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. So depending when this episode airs, the book should be out, but I might change the title. So I'm not going to, throw out the old title if I'm going to change it. But yeah, probably mid 2025 is the book will be out on Amazon, the second book.
This episode should land right mid-April is kind of what I'm seeing. Mid to late April, it would be the launch point for this episode itself. So yeah, it may or may not even be published at the time of this recording. It definitely isn't of the time of the recording, but it might be of the launch of the episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So middle of 2025 is what you're thinking?
Yeah, just to be safe, mid 2025, it'll be out there.
I can't wait. So maybe even, okay, I've got so many different questions. I don't even know where to begin. So let's go through or start the process, right? So you had this desire, right? You're like, yeah, I want to try to write a book, and so you found this course. You found where to even begin, which is kind of where treat the audience today of the same kind of curiosity. Where do we even go if I wanted to write a book, have my name be a published author? Doesn't have to be a bestseller, right? It can be. I know you were a bestseller in certain categories. I know that you've shared. That's super cool. But yeah, where do we start? How do we even start the process?
So first I would ask, if anybody asked me that question, is like, why are you writing the book? What's your goal? Right? So is it to make money? Obviously people, they turn this into a career where they're, publishing books left and right, and they're selling them for a profit. They're running ads to them. That's one reason why somebody might want to write a book. Some other people, they want to just be a proud author. I've always wanted to write a book. You've always heard people say that, and they just want to have their name on a book, and they don't really care if it sells 10 copies or a million copies. And then the last one, at least in my opinion, is you can use it in your business to help educate your clients and customers. And that's usually for like a nonfiction book, kind of like my books. But we can kind of get into the different categories and topics. But that's the first thing I would ask somebody is why are you writing the book, and what's your goal?
So for me, and I'll just use myself as an example, right? If I was going to write a book, so my idea of the winning within is an idea that I've talked about with you, Greg, right? Because we've talked about you helping me through the process of
Mhm.
writing this book that I've got in my mind, right? So that would be, it's almost like a business card, right? You start to share ideas, share concepts that will resonate with certain people. If it's about a particular business or, like you said, a particular service that you provide, like you said, it can almost be like become your own business card, right? People can quickly get up to speed with who you are, how you believe, what you think, get to know you without having to actually have that communication directly with you. And I think that could be a crucial piece, right? And that bridge between, if you're trying to launch out into starting an entrepreneur journey, right? Trying to launch out, become your own person, stepping away a little bit from that W-2 lifestyle. Yeah, that could be a huge stepping point, right? An idea that yeah, you can. It's always going to be a talking point. Greg can go around everywhere he goes, right? About being a published author, and people then can start asking questions about that, right? He can start sharing his wisdom, the things he's learned, and who knows where that would take you? Because that's the whole point, right? You never know where those kinds of conversations will take you. So yeah, I love that part. Why do you want to start? Why do you even want to write the book, right? What is it for? What's its purpose? That's a great starting point.
Yeah, and then the next thing I would say is, well, I guess like a side comment too is the book doesn't have to be like 200 pages or 100 pages. You could write a small book and just put your name on it if you've always wanted to be an author, right? If you're not looking to monetize it, it's just it's yours, right? It's your craft. So you don't
So there
compare
isn't a
yourself to anybody
minimum.
else.
Yeah, when you said that, that was the thought that came to mind. So there isn't a minimum. So it's like it's on Amazon, right? You're selling on Amazon, that type of thing. When you're creating the book, there's no minimum. I mean, you probably don't want a 10-page pamphlet, right? I mean, that's, if you're trying to write a book, it probably needs to be I don't even know. You tell me. Is there a certain amount that you would recommend to stick with an idea, or is it word count? I mean, what's the best way to think of that?
I mean, if you're gonna write a book and it's not very, lengthy, I would say, I mean, I've purchased some books when, you get it in the mail and you're like, "Oh, this is a really thin book." Like, I was expecting.
Paper thin, right? It's like
Yeah, like, I think we've all been there where I'm like, "Oh, this is only like 40 pages or 50 pages. I was expecting little bit more."
right.
So, it's kind of up to you. I mean, you could literally write, there's ebooks out there that are 10 pages, but if they're packed with information and really deliver how to, if that's what you're looking for, again, you're not comparing yourself to anybody else. If you're just putting out a book for, to be a proud author, then you could you could publish a 10-page book and call it a day and be like, yeah, I'm an author. I'm really proud of it. And if the information in there is what you believe to be valuable, then you're good to go. But if you want to, try to make money off of it, that's a different story. You obviously got to put some more words on the paper. And then if you're going to use it to, help your business or help your clients in your business, then it really depends on how much value are you delivering, not how many pages is the book.
It's the result that that person can get, right? So if you can get it in 10 pages, like you said, great. If you can get them from beginning to end in 10 pages, that's all you need. All the you've read, or I've read things, right, where it's just a bunch of fluff, it's just a bunch of things being repeated over and over. And it's like, get to the meat of the story here. What are we trying to, if I'm buying a book, especially if I'm trying to learn something, right? It's like, I want to get a certain result. So that goes back to your first point, right? Is why are you even writing it to begin with? So if you're trying to help somebody from point A to point B, get to the point, right? And if you can do that in 10 pages, 5 pages, 2 pages, great. If it takes 50 to 100, 200, I mean, it kind of depends obviously on what your final outcome is. I've made reference to our friend, Dan Armstrong, and he paints pictures with words. And so he'll tell stories that are lengthy, but it's like he's building on, every word builds on top of the next, right? Meaning it just keeps painting that picture more vividly in your mind. And it's a fantastic thing. So his books are large in comparative, right? As far as like, they're not 10 pages. Let's just put it that way. He has one book that's it's huge, but it's great because he's using words, right? So it depends on the outcome that you're trying to achieve, I guess, is the point that wanted to try to make there, with those statements there. And is that kind of how
Yeah.
you see it as well?
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it. And then that kind of leads us to the next thing is, choosing your topic. And this obviously goes without saying, but it's going to push you in a specific direction. Like you're saying, if you're writing fiction, do you want a series like Harry Potter? If it's nonfiction, where it's more like educational, self-help, which is where I land, do you plan to write a second book that will complement it, or is that book going to stand out on its own? Are you only going to write one book and call it a day, or is this going to be a side hustle, a career, a hobby that maybe you do one book every year, and that's a commitment that you make to yourself. But depending on why you're writing it is crucial. And I can really only speak for myself about nonfiction, but your topic really matters and ties back to your why.
Love it. So the question that's going through my mind, even with that, is, so let's say somebody's out there thinking, okay, well, my subject that I'm passionate about, right? Because to me, it's almost like you've got to be passionate about the subject as well. Meaning you love to talk about it, whether it's in general conversation. So correct me if I'm wrong, if that thought is incorrect. But with that passion, it's, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe it's not really mainstream. Maybe it's, a little bit odd. If someone has a thought like that or a little bit of a pushback with something like that, what are your thoughts there? If their idea for what they want to share is just a little bit different, a little bit not mainstream, should they keep and pursue something like that? Is, there are niches out there that can be spoken about, right? Especially if they're passionate about it, but it's not something that is talked about widely.
Yeah, I would say definitely because that will, kind of put you in a category by yourself because if you're the only one talking about whatever random topic that you think is random, then that makes you more of a subject matter expert if there's nobody else talking about that specific item or process or whatever. And B, I would say if you go on Amazon and you type in whatever you're talking about, some random hobby that you have, chances are somebody's wrote a book about it because there are.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
I've seen a lot of books on topics. I'm like, how is somebody writing a book about this? And it's got good reviews. It's got good it's just people read about, random stuff and it's not all mainstream, how to make money or, a Harry Potter kind of series. There's some, how to get better at racquetball or how to hit the best racquetball shot. There's
So
books on
pickleball,
that.
right? Pickleball is like everywhere, right? I mean, that's kind of the subject. I mean, you see that, I see it everywhere, right?
Yep.
People are always talking about pickleball, and I'll never forget. It hasn't been that long ago I saw pickleball for the first time, and now it's like all over the place.
Hmm.
So yeah, that kind of mentality, right? That's it's seeing things a little bit differently and being okay with it. It's being able to step into it and realize that, yeah, as long as you're passionate about it, right? As long as you have a desire, have a result that you're trying to help someone with, whether you're painting a story with words, right? Painting a picture with words, or if you're trying to help somebody get a result. The whole point is that if you're passionate about it, yeah, it doesn't really matter about the subject. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, exactly. The only caveat I would say to that is if you're looking to get into this business to make money, then you have to have to research your competition to see who's out there, how many other books am I competing against, that kind of thing. If you're solely looking to make money on writing, in my opinion, I think you probably need more than one book. So it's going to take a little while to really cultivate a successful business from publishing. Not to say you can't do it right away from one book, but I think for the majority of people, you're going to need a lot of time and probably more than one book. And that's where research really comes in, where you're really looking at other people who have published in that niche. You look at their reviews. What did their clients or customers like about the book? What didn't they like? So you can kind of take that into account when you're kind of creating your reading avatar, of who am I aiming this book towards, right?
Love it. Yeah, love it. That's fantastic. So what about the next step?
So the next step is, once you kind of figure all that out, is a little bit more logistical. It's coming up with an outline. So you can do this, using your own head. You can use ChatGPT. There's a lot of different tools that you can utilize for this. ChatGPT is great. You can obviously keep on asking it questions and filter down. And then from there, you can really come up with, what does this book kind of look like as far as the outline goes? And then, you massage it, you make it your own if you want. You can use it literally word from word from ChatGPT for the outline. It just depends on, what you're comfortable with and, what you want to do. I will say, I believe with Amazon, if you use AI in any manner or fashion, you do have to disclose that. I think they ask you that question.
That
So,
was going to be a question that I had. So I just want to clarify what I think you just said. So as far as you know, and maybe we can do some research and verify that 100% before the
mhm.
episode launches, but you think that if you use AI in any way, shape, or form, like anything, that you just have to disclose it when you're doing the publishing part through Amazon.
Yeah, from my experience uploading it to Amazon, they do ask you, is it AI? I forget the wording, but basically, is it AI assisted, or is there any AI used in the cover, the text, anything like that? So they ask you those questions when you're uploading your book. So just be aware, if you do use AI, you have to disclose that to Amazon. I don't know what they do with that information. I don't know if it's part of their algorithm. I have no idea, but if I were you, I would kind of stay on that straight and narrow with the AI disclosure there.
So you don't feel like as long as you disclose it, there's no penalty to doing it that way. It's just a matter of just making sure that you're, like you said, on the up and up and disclosing whether you did or you didn't. For my business, a lot of the things that I do, I use AI a lot. It's a fantastic tool. We've talked about it being a tool, right? And yeah, you just don't want to abuse it. But at the same time, if you do use it, just make sure you disclose it. Tell everybody the truth.
Mhm.
And obviously, that's a big step moving forward. Okay, love that. So yeah, the outline. So in my mind, I'm going back to my school days, right? I'm thinking bullet points, like you got a heading, you just bullet points. How detailed do you get with your outline from this idea phase? Do you break it up into chapters? Do you break it up into yeah? Tell me a little bit more about that. I don't want to go too far deep in the weeds, but yeah, just tell me a little bit more about the outline as far as the detail.
Yeah, so what I did, I used ChatGPT for the outline for the second book, and that's exactly what I did. I asked ChatGPT, "Hey, I'm writing this book. This is the topic. This is my experience." I gave it a lot of information, and I said, "Give me 12 chapters, 15 chapters, and break it down into subtopics." And it'll just how ChatGPT works. It just spits out all this information.
Just spits it out.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
love it. Yeah, no, I agree.
And then you review it. Obviously, you make sure it's accurate. You can fine tune it. You can ask it more questions. But the way I do it is, yeah, I ask it for chapters, subheadings, and then topics. Give me 3 topics that I can talk about for each chapter. And then 2 might be good. One might make me think a little bit. One I might delete. It just depends on, what kind of spits out. But definitely utilize ChatGPT for your outline, because I don't know, if you're really creative and you want to do your outline yourself, that's totally cool.
Yeah,
I like relying on ChatGPT because it just gives me some information that I'm just not aware of, and it just sparks a lot of questions for me in my head moving forward.
I agree. So when I get to writing my book that I'm talking about, that I mentioned earlier, we're here with Greg, I'm going to be using the AI tools to help me, right? So it's almost like it helps me brainstorm different things within my own mind, with my own thinking. I will feed it as much detail as you can. That I like it. Also, the chat, or it's not even Chat GPT, it's Gemini, it's all of them. You can turn on your microphone and you can actually speak to it. I mean, so it's like you can start telling it the story that you want to share, and it will gather all that data. You don't have to type it, which has been a pretty cool thing that I've tried several times for myself as well. But it's a tool. It's to help you kind of just even get started. That's kind of the way I look at it as well. If you're having any bout of self doubt within your own mind, it's like this is a great way to just get off the fence and just get started. Yeah, I love that so far. Yeah, the outline. That's super cool. So from there, where do we go?
So from there, you have to figure out exactly what you said. You can either audio speak it to, ChatGPT or a Word file. You can obviously write it yourself, sit down and type the keys, or you can have a ghostwriter write it. So a ghostwriter, for some people that don't know what that is, it's basically you hire another human being to write your book for you based on the outline that you come up with. And you can obviously, once you get it back, you can add to it, you can delete, you can make it your own voice, or you can use it as is. Usually with a ghostwriter, you're giving them a general idea of what the book is about. You want to hire a ghostwriter who has experience in writing in that niche, obviously, so they're not just brand new. And then what you'll do is have them write maybe 1 or 2 chapters before going on to chapter 3. You'll review chapter 1 and chapter 2 and just critique them and coach them because you're paying them to write your book. So you can say, hey, this is not right. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't sound like me. Can you change this before they move on to chapter 3? This way they're not writing 12 chapters and you're like, oh, we have a lot of editing to do. So you're really on top of them in every 2 chapters, just do it that way. So that's the next step would be to kind of figure out, do you want to write it yourself, speak it yourself, or hire a ghostwriter to write it. You can even use AI to write your book, literally word for word. But like I said, just disclose it once you get to Amazon or any other platform.
So the thoughts that are going on in my mind, I'm trying to think for the audience here today. So ghostwriter, you shared what that even is. That might be they might be even hearing that for their very first time, which is possible. But the thought then is just that just kind of sounds or feels a little bit weird, meaning you're going to have somebody else write your book. Tell me about that process. Is that a normal process? Is ghostwriting is that a popular thing? Is that how a lot of books are being written? Just go into that a little bit more, maybe help somebody maybe get over that hurdle thinking that hiring somebody like a ghostwriter to write your book is actually an okay thing. It's not bad. It's like talking about using AI as the tool, right? Using AI isn't bad. It's just different. There's different ways of doing everything. So maybe just touch on that ghostwriting piece just a little bit more to help people get through that maybe that mental barrier, that mental block, thinking that, well, if I'm not writing the book literally word for word, then how can it be my book? That's kind of the thought that kind of came to my mind here as you were talking about the ghostwriting. Can you help me out with that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Ghostwriting is a big industry. There's a lot of people that just want to write books for other people, get paid. They don't want to have their book, on Amazon. They don't want to be the entrepreneur pushing it and trying to get sales. So ghostwriting is a huge industry. And I believe a lot of famous people have ghostwriters. And I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to, but
Not
yeah,
making any claims, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I don't want to put, anybody down or anything,
Right.
or not even down. It's just because I honestly, for the first book, Team Money Mindset, excuse me, um, too many words going on in my head.
I,
I used a ghostwriter, and I admit that because it was my first time, and my previous experience writing that book about real estate investing, I was like, oh, my writing is not good. This is not going to do well.
you're not an English major, huh?
I am not.
And nor
So
am I.
yeah, so I hired a ghostwriter and I made it my own for sure. I put in my own words and my own voice and everything, but I definitely leaned on the ghostwriter a lot because I just felt it was the best path for me to get my story out. Because if I didn't, that book would never have been produced. So, and like I said, a lot of people, famous people, they use ghostwriters. So yeah, it's legal. You're obviously paying the ghostwriter for the words and for the right to use and the copyright to use their copy for your book. So highly regarded, highly used in the industry. I couldn't give you a percentage of how often it's used, but it's
It's more than zero.
yep, it's definitely more than zero. I don't even know how to guess, but yeah, I'd say a lot of books are probably ghost written.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying because I could feel a little bit of pushback with that, right? Because sometimes that even goes through my own mind when I think about having AI help me with my book. But at the same time, if it's a tool that will help me get the process done, then I need to use that tool. And I
Mhm.
think that's how I'm going to move forward with getting my book out there as well. All right, man. So I think we've gotten the book written as far as this point, as far as the process you've come up with. What's next?
So the next steps are more like logistical. So I'm not going to go into detail, and you can do these yourself, or again, you can pay somebody else to do these steps. So the first one is editing. I'll just go through them: editing, formatting, creating a book title with keywords, creating a book title, or excuse me, a book cover, and then applying for the copyright, and then all of the logistics of uploading it to Amazon if that's the first place that you want your book to land. So again, you can edit it yourself. You can ask friends and family to edit it. Formatting, there's a lot of software out there where you can pay to buy the software and format it, or you can simply hire a formatter. And it kind of goes with everything, with creating the title, the book cover, um, applying for the copyright, all that stuff. They're just like minor little steps that you obviously need to take to complete your book, but more logistical at this point.
Yeah, love that too, right? So it's you started getting into a little bit of the weeds, which is fine. That's what it's all about, right? At some point, you've got to get into the okay, now what, right? I've gotten all the data collected, I've gotten the book written. So yeah, like I said, the title is very important, as you would know, right? Folks, if you're out there looking at books, reading books, right? Reading the title, obviously that's going to be the first thing that catches them. The cover of the book is very important. I think you actually rebranded or redid your cover for
Mm-hmm.
your Teen Money Mindset book. And yeah, from what it was, which I think was great at the beginning when I first saw that, to what it became was like night and day difference. I mean, it's like I told you, as soon as I saw that second cover, I was like, wow, that's super cool. Who did that? I asked you, I was like, who did that cover? Because whoever it was, because I didn't think it was you. Don't not trying to put you down, but there again, you're hiring people out to help you do those kinds of things because it was night and day difference from the first cover to the second cover, and why that's so important, as you can definitely imagine. So folks, if any of this so far has been intriguing, it's like you've thought that you want to write your own book. Maybe you've got a story within your own self that you want to get out into the world, right? Be a published author. Greg is trying to help folks do that, right? And we definitely want to try to encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to Greg, and see if we can even go a little bit deeper in some of these subjects. Maybe it's something you want us to go a little bit deeper here, even on the podcast. We don't want to talk about subjects you're not interested in, but if this is one of them that you are, let us know. info@richmind.co. You can address Greg directly within that email. He reads them as well as I do. And we can definitely try to help you with that process. We can definitely come on and share some different things. Maybe we'll even set up a little bit of a class. Like, we can share some screens. He can share some details. That would be a lot of fun as well. You can join us, whether it's him by himself or I might join in as well so I can learn. That would be a lot of fun. So that process, once again, to get that started would be info@richmind.co. So, man, as we start to wrap this one up, hopefully you shared the last few of the bullet points, but talk to me about the just last week. And I think I referenced this, whether at the end of the last episode or even before at the beginning of this one. You shared your books with an organization, and these children, these kids, I think they were probably, the pictures that I saw, maybe 10 to 15 ish, maybe age range, holding your book and taking a picture with your book. Tell me about that story, because to me, that's what it's all about, right? It's getting your information out in the world, sharing it, trying to help others to achieve greater things in life. So, yeah, as we start to wrap this one up, man, tell me about that story and how that was. That had to have been pretty cool for yourself, even.
Yeah, it's funny how that story came about actually, because I reached out to, I think like 10 or 15 organizations that I was actually trying to have them be like an affiliate for my book. And that didn't go really well. I didn't get any affiliations. But this one organization called Junior Achievement, and in Tampa, that's where I'm just south of Tampa. And Junior Achievement, they're in many different states. They're actually in different countries. So it's a global organization where they teach children economics and finances, basically everything that they don't teach in school, which is exactly what my book is about. So this one gentleman reached out and said, "Hey, why don't you come up to the campus, see what we're about and that kind of thing." And I went up there and met him, and it was really cool. Like they have like this, it's like two little like towns where they have all these little like shops, and they're like mini entrepreneurs, all these little kids and everything. So it's just really cool. So I got to talking with, I think it was the vice president, and I just asked him, I was like, how can I, be a part of this? What does that look like? So we kind of went back and forth, and I said, all right, well, why don't I just donate some books for the kids? I just want this book in kids' hands, right? So that's what I did. And yeah, they handed out all the books to the kids, and pictures came back with, kids reading it and posing with the book and everything. So it was a really cool feeling just to know that the book is getting in the right hands. And I might do like a little speaking engagement there to like a
Wow, you didn't tell
Q&A
me that.
session for the
That's
kids.
cool.
Yeah. So we're kind of working on that right now just to see what that looks like. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you write a book or you do something, you have a podcast, and you never know what kind of doors are going to open. And yeah, it's an organization I'm really proud to be affiliated with and a part of.
Love it, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I didn't realize about the whole speaking potential, right? That's kind of the whole point. And that's kind of where this episode today, folks, was to piggyback off the last one, trying to light a fire under you to realize that you need to start taking control of different areas of your life, right? So if you're solely stuck with a one single income, and I mean your own single income, you might have a spouse that has income as well. But my point is like if you are solely tied to one source of income, and you realize that, hey, I need to start getting some diversification going on, right? I need to start adding some potential income streams to my life. Writing this book could lead to so many different things. Greg just shared right there. I mean, who knows? It could lead to different speaking engagements. Yeah, he might not get paid right up front, but who knows who will be in that audience? Who knows who will listen to or who has gotten a copy of this book? You mentioned this, Greg, and I know we didn't talk about it in this episode, but even the foreword to this book that you wrote came from a highly respected individual that was like, yeah, he read your prior pre-draft or a rough draft and is like, yeah, I need to be part of this because it's such a powerful message. You never know where that relationship will take him. You just never know. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring this episode to you today, folks, is to realize and help you realize that, yeah, you might not have all the answers. A lot of times we don't. I talked about my friend Mike about how you just step into it and figure it out. Well, that's what we're trying to help you figure it out today. So if you've got a book inside of you, right? If you've got a story or if you have a process that you want to try to help people do, Greg's the guy. Greg's the man as far as trying to help you figure out how to get that from idea to down on paper or on your computer to being a published book. And we would love, and Greg definitely would love to try to help you through that process. So once again, reach out to us, info@richmind.co. We'll answer any questions that we possibly can. Most of the time, those questions will be answered by Greg himself because he's the man. But definitely, if we have enough interest, we can definitely hop on, record our screens, and share some different things as far as a little bit more of the detail. We kind of brushed over a lot of things there towards the end. We can kind of go through those as well. That'd be a lot of fun. And who knows where that would lead, which is why it's super, super cool. So, man, I think we're going to pull this one in for a close here again today. Was there anything else? Like I said, this is more of a episode for yourself, right? Sharing your wisdom as far as writing the book. Anything else before we wrap this one up today?
No, I just want to thank you for, letting me share about the book writing experience, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from our audience. If anybody is thinking about writing a book or has questions, like Randy said, reach out to us. We're happy to help. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys and, moving that book writing experience forward.
Love it. So, folks, go out there. Have a fantastic day. We appreciate your time and attention. Share this episode again with your family and friends. We'd greatly appreciate that. Help us spread the Rich Mind podcast as far and as wide as you possibly can. Reach out to us. I know I've mentioned it a few times. info@richmind.co. You can head over to richmind.co and grab all the resources we have available there. If you want to see Greg's book in action, we have links. I'll have links in the show notes to Greg's book. You can also go to richmind.co, see this awesome cover that I was talking about, referring to in the episode. We've got images and different things like that, right? You can get the different links and different accesses to his book from our website at richmind.co. You can find it there as well. So as I mentioned, go out there, have a fantastic day. We appreciate your time and attention. Not sure exactly what we're going to go with on the next episode. So let me just put this one out there to you folks. We're looking for some feedback. If you've got some ideas, some different things, some different topics that you want us to discuss, reach out to us once again at that same email, info@richmind.co, and let us know. We definitely want to bring value and add value into the topics and the subjects that you're looking to learn about, right? We've got different experiences, but at the same time, we don't want to just keep rambling about things that you're not interested in. So if you wouldn't mind, help us, right? Help us out with some ideas, some different topics, and we can definitely go down those rabbit trails and learn more about them ourselves, but then obviously share our experiences in the episodes upcoming, right? So we definitely would appreciate that. So have a fantastic day. We appreciate your time, and we will talk again very soon. Until then, bye now.